Will take me where I need to be.
And we can put that fire out.
Yeah, and we can put the fire out. So we had to come to Lowe's on Sunday because I'm getting ready to plant my bell pepper. I need to get me some gardening gloves.
Oh, okay. So they probably got them on the inside. This is something I needed out of here. And I can't remember what it is. But I'll find out when I go inside.
Yeah. Why you need it that big, babe? How many you gonna get?
2 pipes.
So you're gonna get 8 of them?
Yeah. So if that's not it, we can bring them back.
Update on the garden. There's my squash and zucchini. The squash is these 2 rows to your left, my left, and the zucchini are the 2 rows to my right. But those are my squash and zucchini there. So let's get a good overhead look at them. I keep the weeds pulled out as much as I possibly can. And there we go. We got 4 rows of black eyed peas right there, 4 rows. They're doing nicely, y'all. My garden is going much better than I thought it would go. I really didn't expect this much growth so fast from any of these seeds. Now, I didn't transplant any of these plants that you see here, any of this vegetation. I didn't transplant it. I planted these from seeds, which you can follow me. I'm gonna do now my cucumber is doing all right. I expected them to do a little better because I was supposed to have 4 rows, but it looked like only 2 of my 4 rows are coming up, maybe a 4th row right here, and it's coming up at the middle there. So I don't know if they all kind of washed away or what happened there, but this little 3rd row here that I have, I don't think it's coming up at all. Might be trying to. They're coming real slow though. But these are my cucumbers. Those are my tomato plants so far. This box with these tomato plants is doing so good. I mean, it's completely full now. I've already watered my garden. You see, I got my water hose out here right now, and I've got a pretty long water hose. But look at my tomato plants. Oh my gosh, I'm so happy. My mom came over on Saturday when I had Micah's little birthday gathering, and she was completely impressed with all my plants, but she was definitely floored with the tomato plants. But I am so happy with my tomato plants. Those are my tomato plants. everybody. I'm pretty satisfied with what my garden's doing. And what I'm gonna do next weekend is I'm gonna go down to Mama's house, and I'm gonna film her garden. And she's got an in-ground garden now. Remind you, I have a planter box garden going. And I'm gonna go down to Mama's, and I'm gonna let y'all see her in-ground garden. What I expect to start seeing from these cucumbers pretty soon is them growing these little vines that'll start wrapping around each other. And that should start happening within the next month or so. Friday sitting in front of my computer, but today I'm outside and I'm doing a little gardening, and also I want to do a garden update. And the garden is coming along pretty good here. These right here I'm standing in front of are my squash and my zucchini. Now that these leaves are all grown up, it's a little bit harder to tell the difference between the two, because the zucchini and the squash, I mean, it's the same vegetable, right? But I have to say I'm very proud of what I've got going on out here. So I'm hoping that by the end of this garden journey, what we'll be able to see is me harvesting some of the vegetables or the fruits of my labor. That's kind of what I'm hoping for. What I want to do today is I just want to chit chat a little bit about why I started this garden. When I was a kid, I used to plant with my daddy in the backyard, and also with my granddad, my mom's dad, my granddaddy Willie, and my grandma, my dad's mom, my grandma Bola. She also had gardens on, and she had two different areas that she lived, and she had gardens on both properties, and it was always fun to kind of go out into the garden and help them put seeds in the ground and do a little something. As I got older, I grew away from it, because you know, you get older, you become a teenager, you start dating, you start having a different life. But my dad, he passed away in 2018, and my family is still dealing with the passing of my dad. And he didn't pass away as a surprise. My dad had been sick for a really long time, but before my dad got sick, he had a garden every year. And you know, my granddaddy, he passed away in 2008, and my grandma Bola, she passed away, I want to say, in 2010. But they kept gardens until they were at the point where they were at an age and at a health standpoint where they couldn't really keep up with a garden. And now my mama's been doing a garden since my dad passed. Like I said, he passed in 2018, and he passed during the winter. And so there hadn't been really much plant, because my mom spent a great deal of time taking care of my dad. And so he couldn't go in the fields, and she couldn't go in the fields because she was taking care of him. And so when he passed and that summer came, she started a garden, and she started that garden and as kind of like, one, a memory of my dad, and two, to keep herself busy. And then it's something that I thought I'd start doing. I do remember one of the things I left out. As a kid, I used to plant cantaloupe in the backyard. My dad had a smaller little field plowed up just for like me and my brothers, and he bought cantaloupe seeds, and I would plant the cantaloupe. And my granddaddy Willie told me, he said, you know, every time those cantaloupes grow, that means you're growing. Now I know that's just old folks and superstitious, but I believed it. So every day I went out into the backyard in that garden because I had to see if those cantaloupes were growing. One day I went out in that backyard to check on my cantaloupes, and cantaloupe is a sweet fruit. It's a melon, it's sweet. And it attracts bumblebees. Those plants attract bumblebees. And so I went outside to check on my plants, and I had to be about 9 or 10 at the time, and a bumblebee stung me, and I had a severe allergic reaction. Like, the bumblebee stung me, I ran in the house, I immediately started to like feel different, my face started to swell, hives broke out everywhere, my face was getting bigger. I ran to my mom and I was like, Mama, I want to get in cold water. I'll never forget it. And she was like, she looked at me and she called my daddy. She's like, yeah, what? And my daddy came running, and my dad said, give her a bath, call the doctor immediately. And I'm from a small town in Monticello, so they would just call up Dr. Brinson, and Dr. Brinson would just meet him up to the doctor's office and do whatever needed to be done. And so my mom put me in a tub, my dad called the doctor, they packed everybody up, we dropped my brothers off by my granny, we went straight to the doctor's office, met Dr. Brinson there, and he said, yeah, she's having a severe allergic reaction, and he gave me a few shots, not just one shot, he gave me a few shots. The reason I started my garden, I want to do an in-ground garden, but because my backyard is not nearly as big as my mom's or my grandma's or my granddaddy's backyard, that I don't feel like I have a place that I can actually plow up my land, because I live in the country but yet in the city, kind of like, I guess I'm in the suburbs of Tallahassee because I'm on the outskirts headed towards Monticello. And so things are set up different. Like, you know, I grew up on well water, and so here, you know, you have to watch where you dig because you got your septic tanks and you got your drain field, and so that's why I haven't been comfortable doing an in-ground garden. So I instead got this idea from my mother-in-law, who was talking to my husband about gardening, and she was saying she had these planter boxes built, and I was like, that's what I want. Now initially I didn't want planter boxes that sat up on legs, I wanted on the ground planter boxes. Then I think next year I am going to build myself some on the ground planter boxes along with these, because there's some of these that I don't know how well they're going to continue to do in these planter boxes, but I'm going to continue to film and document it and watch it. And I always wanted to do it, and I want to do it in honor of my daddy, in honor of my granddaddy Willie, in honor of my grandma Bola and my granddaddy TJ. And that's one of it lets me see how, even when I thought that I learned nothing from all those people, my daddy, my granddaddy, and my grandma, about outside life, I really did learn a lot about outside life. And that's another thing about myself, is I really actually love the outdoors. I love being outside, and I love summertime, and spring is my favorite season. But even in the wintertime, I still like being outside, because even though I don't like being cold, I would rather be cold outside than to be cold inside with air conditioning. I don't know why it is, but it seems like I handle that cold a lot better. But that's kind of like a background take on why I am doing my garden and how I learned what little bit I do know about gardening. And of course, I still have my mama here, and me and my mom have been doing this together and kind of documenting our journey together. And I'm hoping that this weekend I can make it down to mama's house and film her in-ground garden for y'all and include it in this video too. But this video won't be very long today. This is more of a documentary, or like a garden update video that I just decided I'd sit down and kind of give y'all like a little bit of a background, or maybe a little history, or a little why. as to why I'm doing what I'm doing and spending the time planting this garden, and that's pretty much it. That's pretty much why. So I hope you guys enjoy coming along on this gardening journey with me as we continue to film and document where we go with our plants. And you've probably heard me say this 100 times as far as what I planted, but I've got my squash and zucchini, I've got my black eyed peas behind me, I've got cucumbers here, and on the far end I've got my tomatoes. And one thing that my mom let me know on Saturday about my tomatoes when she came over to look at them is she said that I don't have, she asked me, she said, what kind of tomatoes did you plant? And I was thinking to myself, I don't know, I just picked up some tomatoes. So she was looking at them and she was thinking that I might not even have to get trellises or stalks to tie my tomatoes up because they're bush tomatoes, she said. So I might just be growing like the little cherry tomatoes, which is perfect because I love big tomatoes, cherry tomatoes. I just love all the tomatoes. So they might be just the little cherry or the little grape sized tomatoes, which would be fine for me because I use them in my salads. And if they are the big tomatoes, that's even just fine because I can cut them up and use them in a sandwich with some salt and pepper and mayonnaise, or use them in my salad as well, or use it in my pasta sauces or whatever I decide to do. But it definitely will be something worth growing regardless to which kind they grow to be. But you guys will see when I see, and we'll find out if I grew regular sized tomatoes or cherry tomatoes. But yeah, you guys, thank y'all for tuning in, thank y'all for watching me, thank y'all for following me on this garden journey. And that's gonna be it for this video. And until next time, God bless each and every one of you. Peace.